That was wonderful. Thank you so, so much. And I would like to invite you now to share a little bit about that process. What was it like to create that? Where did the inspiration come from? What can we learn?
All right, well, first of all, thank you for being here. I see many familiar faces. That makes me so happy. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for the church for having me. Well, the process of Mujer Luna. This is basically it's a journey, and it's a personal journey through the 4 feminine moon archetypes. So that's where my inspiration comes from. And as women, we are very connected to the moon, right? And that's also like a taboo, right? In many cultures, we don't talk about it, right? The menstrual cycles, and so for me, this was a liberation of and an exploration of the whole spectrum of emotions that a woman or the feminine goes through, you know. So I love to tell stories through visuals, as you notice, right, and music. And so when I got into storytelling, I learned about archetypes, right? So archetypes, if you're not familiar with the archetypes, right? You know what archetypes are? Okay, so it's symbolic, universal symbolic images or themes, that happens across many cultures, and we can connect, we can understand the common human experiences. So when I learned about this, and I learned about the hero's journey. Have you heard about the hero's journey, right? The hero's journey, it's also kind of like a bummer, because when I learn about it and I start watching the movie, I know what's gonna happen, right? It's like you go and it starts with, typically like a guy, a man who it's like has a simple life, right? And then goes and then something happens to him, a challenge. And then it happens like the masters come from like Star Wars, right? What's it called? The little guy, what's it called? Yoda, right? And then he starts guiding him, and then the whole trials and triumph happens, right? And I'm gonna show you here right? And they call it adventure, right? We go on to adventure, and then he goes through all these transformations, right? These challenges, and then the death, right? And that happens, the death happens. Transformation, atonement, that's the last one, and then return of the goddess. That's what they call it, okay? And this was created by, put by Joseph Campbell. I don't know if you've heard of Joseph Campbell, okay? And it was like, yeah, this is a framework that most of the movie that I found that, they used this. Now, they've been using it, and it's like, okay, I know what's gonna happen next. It's like, yeah, this is, But I felt as a woman that something was missing in this journey. The hero's journey. And then I found out that actually there is a heroine's journey, and who created this, who came up with this, it was a student of Joseph Campbell named Maureen Murdoch. And she was like, wait a minute, I don't feel represented, I don't feel seen in this journey. Because the goal of the heroes is to return to the goddess, to the Mother Earth, to the female, like it's like, the princess, I got the princess, I went all through these trials and I got to marry, the princess, which typically, right, is like to become the queen. But how about us, right? So this is when she started like exploring the female archetypes. And there's so many, and I was blown away that this is not taught in school. There's so many archetypes of the female journey, the feminine journey, and this is where my inspiration came from in order for me to create this, again, multi-sensory journeys, which is visuals and music. And so this is when I got deep into it, and then, I'm gonna go through the the heroine's journey, so you get an idea. Have you heard about the Persephone story, right? Persephone, okay? So in Greek mythology, Persephone was the daughter of Demeter and the goddess of agriculture, and Zeus, the chief god, right? She was kidnapped by Hades, the god of the underworld, and became his wife and queen of the underworld. Okay, that's the story that we all know, and this represents very well of the heroine's journey in terms of the moon cycles, of the nature, and we're gonna dive into it. So the first one, right, for the heroine, it begins with broken with the familiar network. There's a separation of the feminine and the masculine when we come to the world. We come like, oh, innocent, the maiden. There's an archetype called the maiden, and we all come innocent. We're here, right? And this is what I try to portray in my video. Nature, everything is immaculate, you know. But then we come to the world and we say, oh, wait a second. The systems, right? It's in a patriarchal, society. It's not supporting this cycle, actually. It's not supporting our psychophysiological in the way for us to exist and navigate the world. So there's a separation, and this is what Maureen was talking about. So we get to the split of, they call the mother, and we go, and we're gonna go here. So this is when Persephone, the goddess of Zeus, she was a beautiful, carefree maiden associated with spring and fertility. She was also depicted picking flowers in a meadow, representing youth and innocence. And then there's the abduction, right? Hades took her and took it to the underworld. Fell in love with her and took it to the underworld. And while she was picking flower, this was orchestrated with Zeus' silence approval. All right. Then Demeter's grief, the great famine happens. This is like the oppression of the feminine energy, if we think about it, right? Demeter, heartbroken, search for Persephone everywhere, neglecting her duties as the goddess of harvest. And the crop withered and famine spreads across the earth. She eventually learned from Helios, the son of God, that Hecate that Hades had taken Persephone. Okay? So if we go back to the journey, again, we get here, coping strategies. How are we going to navigate the world as women, right? And this separation. Then there is the betrayal of realization. Coping strategies fall apart, hurt and abuse. Cinderella, right? Left without male protection. Exceptional, denied a male role pleasing. People take advantage, disappointed, pushed too far, with nowhere to go. And this is what, in my piece, I portrayed the going to the darkness, right? Going to the underworld. It's like when we realize, oh wait, who am I? Who am I? Everything was like split for me. Who am I, in that sense? So then we go back to Zeus' intervention, right? Intervention and the pomegranate trick, Seeing the world that is suffering, right? But there's no feminine now. We're like so disconnected, right, from the feminine. And yeah, the world is upside down, right? With so many wars and so many days. This is how, Maureen was talking about it. And so Zeus ordered Hades to return to get Persephone. Because we need the feminine, we need the female, we need the feminine energy to go back so everything is in order, right? So everything is in balance. So Hades had tricked Persephone into eating pomegranate seeds, the food of the dead. Since she ate 6 seeds, she was bound to the underworld for 6 months each year. All right? And this is when the cycles of seasons happens. A compromise was made. Persephone would spend half of the year with Hades, fall and winter, and half with Demeter, spring and summer. And her descent marks the barren months, and her return brings fertility and renewal. So this is the framework, right? The stories that portrays very well the heroine's journey. Descend to the world, going inward. The heroine is going in, and the hero is going out. It's something external. So she basically went into the unknown of the feminine, the unconscious, the unpredictable. And this is So the symbolism and meaning of this, Persephone represents duality, life and death, innocence and experience, light and dark. Her story symbolizes the changing seasons, the balance between loss and rebirth, and the initiation into deeper knowledge and power. So when I learned about this heroine's journey, it blew my mind because it made sense with all the work that I was doing too. I was feeling like, well, what about that pain of women, that healing that we need to do before going into the journey of the heroines? There's so much repression, right? And also like not much about knowledge, right? Of the feminine, the psychophysiological, experience of a woman. I don't know if you knew that. And I'm gonna wait. I don't know if I have it here. No, but until recently, like women were denied. They were not. I said like in the clinical trials, we were forbidden to be in clinical trials until the 90s because it was so unpredictable. The female body is so unpredictable, right? Forcibly change for a whole month during cycles, hormonally 4 times. We become 4 women in a month, right? Where you probably experience as men, or women. We are like someday we're super happy with a lot of energy, the other time we just like want to stay home and like don't bother me, just leave me alone, right? And we go through these cycles. Sometimes we are aware, sometimes we're not. If you learn about your processes, right? So that's this is when I'm like, okay, there's a framework. There's a framework for this, and that was basically the inspiration. Oh, going back to the point of the clinical trial, right? So we were forbidden to be studied. So they wanted cheap data, right? Cheap data, fast data, and the hormonal process of men is 24 hours. 24 hours, always the same, the hormonal process. And for women, it changes every 4, weeks. We are completely different hormonal processes, right? So for each phase, there's so much going on. So of course, it takes a lot of time and effort to study a woman, But now that, thankfully, there's a lot of female neuroscientists that are coming forward and they're actually, getting into to study the female psychophysiology of the woman, and now we know more. We know more about it, and yeah, it's important. They say it's important to honor, for women to honor each of the stage, each of the cycle, because if we don't, we get burned out. We can get completely burnt out, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of you have experienced this. If you don't rest when you have to rest, right? If you don't let nature, be nature, we're gonna burn out, left out with no energy, And I think today the world is the environment, the systems are built in a way that are not supporting this feminine way of being, this multidimensionality. It's just like it works in 24 hours, right? Cycle. That we try to catch up, we're trying to catch up. We women, we have to become so many things at the same time: mothers, sisters, workers, and friends, and and really there's no time to. Sometimes, right? We need it. So for me, this when I went deep into the rabbit hole into this, and to learn about this, and then I was like, wow, it's so important for the feminine, and it could be men too, because feminine is an energy, I believe. To be aware, learn about it, and maybe when you have the tools to start create change, because change is the only constant in nature, right? Isn't it? The only constant is change, and we try to resist to the change, to this cycle, trying to control nature, right? What happens when we try to control nature, right? Everything is upside down, right? It's like volcano is gonna explode, so let it explode. Let the volcano explode. Us too. Let us be in this world with our, honoring each stage of the cycle. So this is basically the process when I create all the my pieces. I'm always inspired by the myth, legendary women, you know, what are their stories? Because it's completely different. I didn't feel seen, you know, into many of the, you know, the current frameworks or on Hollywood, right? Right now, it's like, there's a birth of, actually, well, there's a birth of the feminine, and we start seeing, you know, Wonder Woman, right, all this, and I don't know if they're actually, you know, using this framework, but I don't know how deep they're, you know, with the healing part of all these repressions, right? Going into the darkness, into the subconscious, go in, explore, because we are afraid of the, you know, as humans, we're always afraid of the unknown, right? Unpredictable. So this is, for me, it was like, okay, this is a beautiful framework to you know, create my art and my you know, sensory art. And so, yeah, this is the, pretty much, you know, the process. This is the process
In our initial conversations prior to putting this together, I was very moved by what you said in regards to how your creative expression is symbolic of the liberation. That you put all of this, like this idea of liberation about what women, I guess, like the oppression that women face. We're not allowed to be emotional, we're not allowed to be this, that. And I was wondering if you wouldn't mind just speaking on that just a little bit about how your creative expression is a symbol of liberation.
Sure, it is. Okay, so it started, you know, because we women, we want to express, right? We're not allowed to get angry. If you get angry, like you're crazy, you're, what is it called when they call you, you know, hysterical, right? Hysterical. What is it? It's very interesting, the history of the word hysterical too. I mean, it comes from the uterus. We blame it on the uterus, right? The hormonal process that happened there, you know, that's what the scientists back then they say. So, but coming back to my story, I started, you know, as a singer actually. And sometimes, you know, when I was singing, I wanted to scream. I wanted to, you know, because I grew up actually listening to rock, you know, so I guess there was a lot of anger that I needed to, you know, there. But it wasn't like, it wasn't welcoming, and you know, so I'm like, oh my God, this is, and it wasn't being very loud for me. It didn't allow me to fully express, you know, to be as loud as I want to be and can be. And I always wanted to, since I was little, tapping things, you know, but when I was little, a lot of people told me like, oh, I see that you love drumming, you know, you love drumming. I love drumming. Oh, but you're a woman, you're not gonna be a drummer, forget it. That's what I heard when I was little, you know, from a man that I respected. And I was like, okay, so I forgot about it, you know, but then when I was like in the music, and I was always like trying to get the timbales, because I was in a big Latin big band, and 7 men and me, and they were percussionists, and I was always trying to steal the timbales. So can I play a little bit in this song, this timbale, you know, okay. But the more I was doing it, I'm like, I can hit this thing very hard, you know, and I ended up creating, you know, I decided to create my own playground, surrounded by drums. I will put it anywhere I want. Okay, I'm gonna get the timbales here, because that's actually my full performance. Right now, this is like a very, you know, condensed. So I created my playground. I surrounded by drums, and also because I love martial arts, the expression of the body, especially it's connected with women. Women explore and express through the body. I wanted to hit a symbol here, so I put a symbol here, put a symbol there. So that's when I'm like, oh, I can express, this is my playground, and I can do anything I want. And then I created this piece of exploring the whole spectrum of my emotions into the piece. So I started with a journey, again, nature is fine, you know, everything is fine, and then the rage comes and the darkness, and I was like, this is when I go all out with my loudness, and then we go, oh, and then when the release of that, those emotions, you know, I go back to the dance, and then all the journey that we go through the month, you know, with our cycles, basically. So that's how I come up with, you know, my space to express, you know, the liberation of my emotions. any other questions?
Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to you guys. Does anybody here have questions that they would like to ask Mila? Andrea, come with the mic.
Hi, I'm so glad I came to this. Lola, my daughter brought me. I love everything about this talk. I love the history lessons, the art history, imagery, the mythology, and I think like there's more than just repression of the femininity. There's fear of it, and I think of late I've been very interested in studying and learning about matriarchal societies, which do exist.
They do.
And I think there's so much power in femininity, and we have a few more skills than men,
Yes.
including empathy, kind of an inborn empathy, the ability to create life, a kind of emotional maturity that comes early on. And this is a real threat to power. And so the repression of women all over the world is related to our power. And I'm really mad too. Like I don't play the drums, but I did take martial arts, and I realized when I did it that, oh my gosh, there's some fire inside me. And I recently had an outburst at home. This is my therapy session. And realized, like, wow, if you don't let this stuff out, it can make you unbearable, but also sick.
Yeah.
So that's a lot. And I'm just wondering, how did you come to this moment? Was there a turning point in your heroine journey that made you go, now I'm doing it?
This represents very well, I went to darkness, right? I had depression. I went into, very dark moment in my life. There's a lot of anxiety, and probably there's still a little bit in it, we're trying to navigate through it. But depression, anxiety, and a lot of anger that I was repressed. And I remember there's one point that I got so discouraged in music that I didn't want to do anything with music. Like a lot of people, I wanted to become a drummer, and a lot of people said, like, you're crazy. What are you talking about? Drummer? Like, that's for guys, You're never gonna succeed or anything. Or like, I didn't want to even like go for success. I wanted to express myself. So I couldn't find the support in that sense. So there was a year that it was very, I didn't want to, I couldn't even stand hearing music. And there was and this is when I descend into the hell, the underworld, very deep in what's, like becoming aware of all of this pain and all this, what's going on. And this is when when I reached bottom, and I said, no, like, this is when, okay. Going through also, like I forgot to mention, when Persephone went to hell, to down the world, she started to strip over piece by piece. She was going gate by gate. There were 7 gates. And every gate she had to strip something of her, jewelry, anything, like her dress, until she arrived naked. And that's how I felt too. I started like, okay, identities. No, this is what my school, told me, the society, friends, people that I admired, that I was, wow, like, didn't really support me. Until I was there, inside me, naked, of who am I, So for us, like for the female or for women, it's more about creating our identity, finding ourselves, creating ourselves, creation, right? So that's what I have power. When I was completely stripped naked, I have the power to create myself. I can have the power to create, that can be life, could be music, art, project, anything, environments, change, anything. So that's what happened to me. It's like, okay, I'm gonna change things. I'm gonna, start like, I'm gonna create, I need to express this, like, what do I like? Okay, drumming, martial arts. I start just like be. For women, it's just be. You don't have to, you don't even do it, just be. I'm gonna be whatever comes, and that's how that started. It was to the, went through the journey. I was a maiden, oh, happy you came to the world thinking like everything is flowers, and like, boom, it's yeah. So that's how that happened. That's how it happened, in my journey. Yeah, and then you get the power out. You get the you can create. You can change things. You can. I mean, as women too, and this is something I learned about these scientists. Her name is actually Kayla Orsolov, if I'm pronouncing it well. She also said that there's a very different differences between male, and female brains, and this is what for me was like, wow. For female brains, our master hormone is oxytocin, right? Love, care, nurturing, and for men, for the male, it's a dopamine, which dopamine is just like drive, right? Goal oriented, going forward, linear, right? So I was like, that makes sense. So women are naturally born to be leaders, because we think of long terms of the consequences. That's why we doubt ourselves too so much, right? I was like, okay, if I do this, what's gonna and sometimes we end up not doing anything because, we overthink things because we try to go over everything that's, what are the consequences our actions are gonna, right, create. So I was like, that makes sense. So imagine if these both forces works together, that's the whole point. That's the whole point of, balance of nature. So that's for me also, throughout my journey, I have a great responsibility too as a woman, to create, but to create my environment. If I need to change the environment, I'm gonna, create it to support not only, the female, everyone, to support everyone, to be inclusive, to be, that's compassion and empathy, right? To care for all of us, because it's possible. It's possible. Nature is doing it. Nature is interconnection. It's interconnected. All the trees are connected. They have this network underground. It's called the mycelium, and they're all connected. They're like nurturing each other. Oh, this is, that tree needs a little bit more. Okay, they give it to them. And I was like, well, nature is just amazing. It works. It's just like it's in balance. It's cyclical, and that's how we work. So we gotta really honor and celebrate that cycle. I think it's important. So that's the biggest inspiration of my art, and answering to your question.
It's very beautiful that you bring up this idea of balance in terms of energy. Not talking about like gender, but energy, masculine energy versus feminine energy, which every single one of us has both of. It's kind of perfect that we're having this more feminine side conversation driven on this like heavy rainy day because the feminine energy is associated with water. It's receptive, it's slow, it's wisdom, whereas masculine is more associated with like the sun and the fire and the fast. You cover a lot of ground in a very short time. And I'm curious, in your creative process, while we are focusing very much on this feminine liberation and the journey, the heroine's journey and stuff, how do you illustrate that balance with the masculine? What would you think is your symbols of the masculine energy in your work? Is there symbols of masculine energy? And I was wondering if you would speak to that.
Yeah, there is working together, we have very unique, both energies, unique powers, a unique set of skills, and how I see is the feminine has the ability, because we're more connected to nature, body, intuition, we can sense, we're not linear, we're cyclical, and we can sense more everything. We can have a bigger vision, we can see, right, bigger, and for the masculine, it's good at building, right, helping to build that vision, so imagine working together to create a beautiful vision, bring heaven to earth. So that's how I see it, like a dance, simply dancing, I have another piece, because this was mostly focused on the moon, the feminine cycle, but I have another one where they end, the video ends dancing, men and women and all together, basically, that dance of feminine energy in this, cycle, and yeah, that's how I feel like we can, work just cooperation. together. Bring it is as important to hear the voices of the feminine, what they have to say, give space for that. So, yeah.
Hi, thank you so much. I wanted to bring another dimension in, which is that of age. When women no longer cycle, or at least the cycle is not certainly as obvious. And yet it's been my experience that older women are really interested in expression and the arts in a way that maybe they didn't when they were younger during their childbearing years. And I just wondered about that in terms of this entire, in terms of your thinking. Because I've been really struck by the power of being older and also feeling less afraid to express the anger or the confusion or the power inequality, all of these things. Anyhow, I wondered if you thought about that.
Well, I feel like age is a way of thinking. I think, you can have, I'm actually, 37, and I feel like I'm 20, so with the energy, with, I don't think of age of, so I feel like everything is energy, so any type of energy that you can cultivate is worth to express, and, so I feel like one should not be limited by, the number, I think, but also, you talk about the cycles, right? That they stop for a moment, but I think there's still something going on. There's still changes. You still feel emotional. You're still being affected by the mood, regardless, right? There's still hormones changes throughout the month. I'm pretty sure that you feel sometimes, I don't know, that time of the month that you're like irritated, you don't know why, and it's like, oh, leave me alone, right? I mean, I'm still learning, I don't know. Do you still go through that or no? Those changes, like, do you feel sometimes like that change of emotions in you, or?
I think each stage of life is really different. And,
okay.
I think that there are, you're asking me personally,
yes.
I think that different stages have different lessons, motivations, symbols, stories, myths, and I'm fascinated about silence, about older women's stories, and I think it could be different. I'm not assuming it's the same. That's
right.
what I was trying to sort of dialogue with you. No, I'm not positive, and anyhow, it's enough. It's a conversation.
Yeah, no, and we need. I mean,
yeah.
I also, I'm an artist in residence here, so I'm, in the church. And actually, the work, a different piece that I'm working is to collect the stories, across all generations of women. But this is specifically LGBT queer women, but because there's so many unwritten stories of women, untold. I go to history and it's like, where are these stories? I learned from this woman that she was the co-founder of the Gay Alliance in Boston, something like that. And she's not on the history of the website. She's like, they took her, and she was like really key. And when she told me, I got really mad, like, what? This is needed because it's like, inspires me, It inspires people, it can save lives. So we need your stories, please, I think the journey continues. This is always cyclical. I don't think it's linear. I didn't end with usually the moon cycle ends with the crown, which is the darkness and destruction, but I actually intentionally, I ended with the mother, which is creation, because it can start again. It can continue to create, it never stops. That's nature, it never stops. So please, we need your voice, we need your stories, so, yeah.
When I was watching the video, I got the impression that all those women love themselves. And I was wondering, when you're playing, do you love yourself?
Yes, it took a long journey to get there, to become whole, what they say, and I'm still in the journey. And this is actually the end, when we go back to the heroine and the hero's journey. The goal of the heroine's journey is to become whole again, for the pieces that was fragmented through the journey, right? We were like, who am I? Like, am I this? But I'm being this, you know, and at the end, that's the end of it, you know, we just accept all of your pieces, love them. It's nature, it's beautiful, the ugly, the beautiful, the messy, it's just beautiful, you know, and honor all of them. So at the end, yeah, it's just the ecstasy, the joy of, you know, being this multidimensional, you know, woman, yeah, or feminine, or being, yeah, basically being. So.
So this question more from an artist's perspective, still in the field of energy and everything. In your process, especially putting together the visual and the audio and the musical and all that and combining it all on top of the performance, how much you feel you teeter, because I feel like it's different for everyone, how much you feel you teeter on following just the raw emotion, inspiration, and energy from the piece and the visuals and the music in creating it versus the intentionality behind all the research and the intentional ideas and concepts you're trying to do, and how do you balance that, or, you know, so how do you approach that?
So it started just like experimenting, experiencing. It was just like, oh, I feel this, I'm gonna play it like this, right? And then I started diving into more into the, you know, I'm a very curious person, so like storytelling and all of that. I wanted to create a piece, and then I find out, oh, this is when I, you know, when I learned about the heroine's journey, and that helped me to structure a little bit. To structure, I said structure because that's the masculine, right? Structure a little bit the piece to make, you know, to create this journey. But it started with just like getting into the wild, into untamed energy, and just like play whatever comes, you know. So it usually comes like that. It comes with an emotion. I'm just sitting there, and a rhythm comes. I start playing that rhythm, and I build upon that. Because I know other artists, they write a song, they write a letter. A lyrics, right? Or the music. For me, it starts with the rhythm. It's like, for me, it's the bass, like the heartbeat. That's gonna drive everything else. You know, then I start adding the music is also original, so I start adding the music around it, you know. And yeah, that's how I approach it.
Just to piggyback off that,
Yeah.
so we're in a band together, the
Oh,
Cherry
yeah.
Moms.
Cherry Moms, yeah, the singer's here.
And,
Phenomenal singer, by the way.
thank you. Yeah, and when you play, it's so powerful and so feminine. But there was one night at rehearsal, like 3 weeks ago in New York, we were at Nika's, and she was so masculine when she was editing this video. We got it done at 1 in the morning, and then that moment I was like, Mother is fathering. Mother is fathering tonight.
I remember, yes.
But I want to say, I guess I'm also thinking about your question too and your discussion, because even though I am supposed to have my cycle, I feel a lot of responsibility as a woman to be on birth control, and so do so many of like my peers. So I guess, like, how can we have balance without, while we're kind of like physically suppressing it, you know? But I feel a lot of balance when I'm in the band with you guys and around women. But it makes me emotional, you know?
It makes you emotional?
Like,
Yeah. So, so what was the question again? I'm sorry.
I guess, like, artistically, is there a way to inspire that balance when you can't have it, like, physically? You would think I'm on my period right now. I haven't had it for months.
Balance is, I guess, you know, how I see it. You know, there are times that we're gonna be, you know, one on the other extreme, and I think that's a feminine journey, and to honor that. I mean, not to suppress that. That's the whole. I think it's the whole point. Balance is to honor each stage You know, when you're feeling down and you just need to rest, like for women, it's been challenging to set boundaries, right? And it still is in many environments. So I think to go more into that, like how can we set boundaries so we can honor that, and how we can change the environments so we can get honor that, you know? And me too, like I decided I want to play with more women. I used to play with a lot of men, and I was like, you know, always like, not, you know, with all my respect, you know, but like, every time I go to, I was on a gig, you know, where's the drummer? I got there, it's okay, where's the drummer, you know? I'm like, I'm here. I was like, oh, okay, sit there, you know? And then they start like mansplaining, you know, okay, you know how to do that, you know, like, yeah, you know, you wanna help me, can you help me, you know? Then I got into the, I was like kind of like a little, annoying, but then the compassion, right? And I learned how to set boundaries, too, like, it's important, I guess, to care, to get that nurture back to you as much as you can, and because we women give until we have nothing, right? We give and give and give, we have so many responsibilities, so many roles, but if we're not taken care of, we take care of ourselves, that's when we get into this, it's harder for us to navigate those processes, right? When we because we get into our heads too, right? When we're tired and then we feel guilty for resting. We even feel because the society is like, no, you have to do, you have to produce, you have to, we feel guilty, even resting, so we burn out, right? We burn out, and so finding balance is just like, I think becoming aware of these cycles, honor them, and we need to educate too. It's just happening right now. These scientists, female scientists, are like, finally, we're getting to know the female body, how it works, and the energy too, what's the energy? We're finally learning about it. There's scientific studies now. We need it, we need that time for us to rest. Winter, we need winter. We don't have winter, I don't know what's gonna happen, right?
So, something that you had started this discussion with this idea of archetypes, and listening to Setha's question and thinking about like the triplicate moon goddess of, that 3 cycle, like, I'm wondering if maybe, is it more of a symbolic understanding of these cycles within ourselves rather than a literal translation? Is it understanding, and I don't know if it is in your art, maybe it is literal, maybe it is the literal natural cycles and stuff, but is there a way for us, I guess, on the subconscious level to understand the symbolic nature of cycles and understanding our connection to nature? Is it for you more literal, or is it more symbolic?
Sometimes I get both, literal, and because when we talk about the crown, right, destruction, I see that as like destroy things that doesn't serve us. Destroy the things that we carry. We put so much on our shoulders. I don't need this. I'm gonna destroy what is limiting me. I'm gonna destroy what doesn't serve me. I'm gonna destroy,
Where death is not actual physical death, but
it's not actually, it's symbolic, but literally, I mean, it feels like death. In the mind, whatever you think in the mind is the body's gonna feel it. So you feel like dying, and reaching bottom, and when you are in those stages, so yeah, it's mostly symbolic, but it feels real. The stages, yeah.
Yeah. One more thing. Does anybody have any further questions first? Okay. So I'm going to come to you in just a minute, and then I have one more final question before we wrap for the evening. Here we go.
It's just so emotional, and the idea of being suppressed in any way. But I feel like Lola brought up something which I agree. It's like when you drum in the band or wherever, and this is considered by society something masculine, and that you bring it into a feminine place. And I've done that in my life too, where I've been called a disruptor because I've entered typical male-dominated industries and brought it to women. And I think that, that's maybe a way for you to think where you're in control of that. And just because society sees it a certain way, and if we decide to do it, we can do it our own way. And it doesn't have to be the way that it's been done and the way that other people see it. And, I think that that's something really important that you bring to everything that you do, because you bring it there with the feminine energy, and it hadn't been there before. So I love that. It's a really question.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah, and I mean, if I can add to that, because you said like sometimes become very masculine, because we all have it, feminine and masculine, right? The masculine is all about structure, goal-oriented, getting things done, right? And also I can shift that into music, because when I play with a band, for example, the role of the drummer is to support the band. It's like as a skeleton, so it's very linear. You have to keep this pattern, so the masculine is just this boom, 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 right? And the feminine, and how I experience the feminine rhythm is completely the opposite. I dance around the boom, boom, I dance around because it's not predictable, it's not a pattern. It's just like, so right now I try to play a more feminine. I wasn't playing a very specific rhythm, a linear rhythm. I was just like talking through the drum, like just whatever comes, whatever rhythm is unpredictable. I don't know what's gonna come, I'm just gonna play it. So that's for me is a feminine rhythm in music, it's just like dancing around this masculine rhythm. So I get to experience, yeah, probably you see also, yeah, and in the music, I feel very, when I'm like driving something, I'm driving a truck, when I'm with the band on Cherry Boats, I'm driving a truck, like I get it, and when I'm doing Mila Tina stuff, or I play percussion in a more free way, more like jamming, for example, I get into that flowy, more about whatever feels in the body, so yeah, that's what I wanted to.
Awesome. Mila, I love watching you play. I just want to say that. Mila's been here a couple of times. She performed with Pussytails here. She also joined us when we had Funny Women in Song, like an impromptu. She joined us up on stage. And I just have to say, it is a joy to just watch you lose yourself to whatever rhythm it is that you're playing. So I want to thank you for also performing live for us, as well as sharing the insight. And I did get a little bit more behind the scenes talking to her, and I could probably talk to Mila for hours on end. But one of the things, the stories that she shared with me that I would really love her to share with you guys is the story of her name, Mila Tina. Because Mila's real name is Carolina Fuentes. So I was wondering if you wouldn't mind just sharing with everyone.
Sure. So when I created my playground, right? So when I realized, what, I can do whatever I want, right? I'm gonna create my playground, and then how am I gonna call, this project? So I went to sleep. Asking that question to myself, and literally at 3 a.m. in the morning, I woke up like this, Mila Tina. Mila, it just like came to me, Mila Tina, and then like okay, it's gonna be Mila Tina. It sounds like it's short, and then I realized it's a play of words, Mila Tina is 2 words, but if you say like me Latina, it's a compound word. So it's like Latina, and I'm Latina. I'm from Chile. I was born in Chile, and so you either in English or Spanish, my Latina or mi Latina, it works. And then I went to dig more into I went to explore the meaning of it. And Mila, it's actually a Russian name, and there are many ways. I mean, in Spanish, it's in many cultures. And the Russian, concept, meaning of it was so beautiful. It's just she who plays for the people, So, and this is mostly how I feel when I'm performing. It's just not really me. I'm just like, I don't know if you believe in God or universe, source. I just feel like I get out of the way and just let the energy comes and just like express itself, So that's how I feel. I'm just gonna play, and I believe that music is sacred and it's powerful. So I use that medium for that. So whenever we go and we experience it with a band, sometimes we go to these places that are like, oh, you know, the energy is tense. But you know, we come with the energy, and at the end, everyone's like, oh, like in love mode, you know, the sound engineer, guys, you know, it's like self-loving at the end, you know. So I believe music heals, music transforms, and that's how I like, oh wow, this is really beautiful. This is my responsibility of using this medium to change the environment with energy. So, and it has many more meaning. Mila also comes from the Spanish milagros, miracles, right? And I believe in miracles. We can create miracles, we can change anything. We have the power, the feminine. For men or women, we can use the feminine to change, to create, to birth changes, birth new ideas, things that, you know, help us everyone to thrive, not to survive, thrive, right? We were talking about it.
Would you like to take a minute to elaborate on the symbol behind you?
Okay, so the symbol, and this is my logo, by the way. I come from Chile, and in Chile there's these natives that, you know, the group of people that they're called Mapuches, okay? And they live in the south of Chile. And if you haven't been there, the south of Chile is just, I believe it's heaven. It's beautiful. You can literally drink water from the river. You know, it's just very lush. And so the Mapuche people, they're the guardians of the south of Chile. And just recently, I mean, I don't know how it came. I mean, I just saw the symbol and I connected with it, and it means, it's called puke or pue. And it means this is the geometry of love. So I grabbed this symbol and I put it in my kick drum. And so every time I hit the kick, for me it's symbolic. It's like the heartbeat, right? Geometry of love. So basically I just recently went to Chile actually, and I reconnected with my roots. And it was very magical because I got to learn more about them. And one of the ways that they receive information, or like they appoint, for example, the Machi, and Machi is the shaman woman of the tribe, is through dreams. You know, if they don't dream about it, they're not gonna appoint anyone. They're gonna wait till generations until someone dreams about it. And I felt connected because that's how I dream about it. I just dream about this, and then I got to connect everything else. So it's very symbolic for me and meaningful.
Wonderful and beautiful. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you everyone for coming, especially coming out from this room. So have a wonderful afternoon, guys. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here.